Mr. Karan Tanna, founder and CEO, Yellow Tie Hospitality. He'll join us in a while. Mr. Joel Silverstein, CEO, East West Hospitality. Are the speakers for next session around? Till the time they join us, let me quickly tell you the session highlights. Delivery is the direction the customer is moving towards, and that restaurants need to accommodate the demand in order to be competitive. Then in this session we'll be highlighting how some restaurant owners and operators are rethinking the layout of their locations, the new outlook to take away formats, how global brands are the top of the game, and then how big brands are transforming their in-store experience. Ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly tell you that post this session, we have a keynote session, and after that, there's a panel discussion, and then there's one more session. So in all 3 sessions to go after this, and we are waiting for our panelists to join us. We can see them on screen. They'll be joining us in a while. And like all our sessions, you can keep a note of your questions. We'll take them towards the end during Q&A. Four more sessions to go, 2 panel discussions and 2 keynote sessions for today. For those of you who are leaving, our speakers are right outside. They'll be joining us in another 1 minute. Thank you so much for your patience. And they are right here with us. Please welcome session moderator, Mr. Karan Tanna, founder and CEO, Yellow Tie Hospitality. A very warm welcome to you, Karan. Can we all please welcome them as they join me on stage? Mr. Joel Silverstein, CEO, East West Hospitality. A very warm welcome to you. Mr. Rasesh Seth, partner, the Arshadin Group and country head, Surf and Fries India. A hearty welcome to you. Mr. Anand Thakkar, chairman and managing director, Legends of Punjab. A very warm welcome. Mr. Ajay Talwar, partner, Sea House Italia. I think he'll join us in some time. For now, I hand over the session to the moderator, Mr. Anurag. Mr. Karan Tanna, founder and CEO, Yellow Tie Hospitality, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll just have a quick introduction round. I am Karan Tanna, founder, CEO of Yellow Tie Hospitality. We have 11 brands under our portfolio, managing more than 50 stores across India. We have a mixed bag of international brands, homegrown brands. We have also launched an incubator where we identify young companies and invest in them if we feel they can be category leader and grown through franchising. And we have acquired 2 such companies recently. So it's been 2.5 years we are doing this, and we have more than 30 stores in pipeline again. Joel, Rashesh and Anand, I'll just request you to give a quick introduction of yourself, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Joel Silverstein. I'm the founder, president of East West Hospitality Group. We're based in Hong Kong, and we're a hospitality advisory firm. I've had a long career with Yum Restaurants and many other international restaurant chains for 27 years. And we've operated our own businesses in Japan, Hong Kong, China, and elsewhere. We have three businesses. One is private equity advisory. So a large chunk of our business is advising funds when they invest in restaurant groups or hotel groups. So these are multi-unit, larger deals, $100 million and above. And they're usually local brands, like brands within China, within Indonesia, within Thailand, et cetera. They're not the international brands like KFC or Pizza Hut. They're local deals. We also have a practice involved in performance improvement. These funds own restaurant groups or hotel groups. They want to improve performance before they sell it. So we help them with that. And then thirdly, we have a franchise development practice. We currently represent 20 brands in Asia Pacific from the UK and the United States primarily.
Hi everybody, I'm Rasesh and I'm a partner at the Arkadin Group and also the head of Surf and Fries in India. We largely deal with a lot of international hospitality brands from the western part of the world who want to enter the eastern part. I'm a partner with Joe and we work across the Asian markets to help these brands enter and develop and grow substantially over different across countries. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, and we see a huge scope in lots of large brands coming into the market through innovation. We're also starting a practice wherein we help a lot of Indian brands go abroad. I think there's a huge market for that as well. As the head of Surf and Fries in India, we're responsible of growing the brand across different parts of the country, managing operations, supply chain, and also performance to make sure that the brand is successful, obviously because India is an extremely large opportunistic market for the brand. So yeah.
Hi, good afternoon everybody. My name is Anand Thakkar. I am the chairman and the managing director of Legends of Punjab. I have 18 to 20 outlets in India which are operating right now with 3 different banners. One is called Paparazzi the Diner. It's a multi-cuisine restaurant with an American themed stuff. Then Legends of Punjab is a hardcore thematic Punjabi restaurant serving North Indian food. And I've got one more brand which is called Raisins, which is a coffee shop. It's a multi-cuisine coffee shop, that's what we call it. We bake our own breads, we make our own cakes, and we have a lot of combos and all those stuff. And we have been expanding Legends of Punjab. That's the main motto right now because the Indian food is the world's second favorite cuisine in the entire world, what people accept it. And we're expanding now, not only in India. We're coming up with an outlet in London, which is by the end of Christmas. We've given a franchisee in Australia, and we've just recently closed in Gulf. We see Gulf as a major market, and the Middle East, as if we say, it's not the Gulf. And let's see, we're hopeful for the Indian cuisines to take it further.
Thank you. So coming to the topic of the evening, we are going to cover a lot of subjects, starting with the trends in the industry. So I'll, quickly touch base on what I think are the trends in the ongoing F&B industry in India, and then take all of your opinions also. In my opinion, very clear cut, there are 3 emerging trends. One, delivery business is expanding, which is one of the key topics that, we were asked to touch base on. And we see a lot of emergence of cloud kitchens. And there are brands which are in cloud kitchens which are now franchising also. So cloud kitchen market is evolving very, very quickly. The second trend that I see clearly is of Indian regional food coming in fashion. So, I think in Bombay, the Bombay canteen started the regional food trend, and now there are Goan restaurants, now there are Burmese restaurants, and we see a lot of regional food in menus of lot of restaurants now. So all of the sudden people have started to talk about regional food and regional produce. The third trend that I clearly see is the health food, which all of us know that the next wave is going to be of health food, so to say. Though currently I think there is a very, very niche market which really follows health food, but the majority of the market is fashionable health food, as we would call it. But I think that's going to be the next trend. Joel, I want to ask you on a broader level, as far as the Southeast Asia is concerned, what are the emerging trends as far as the business trends are concerned and as far as the cuisine trends are concerned? the business trends. I mean, like in India, the business is moving heavily towards delivery, and the cuisine trends. What are the people accepting more?
Right. Well, because of digitization of information, everybody pretty much knows the same thing now. And so I would say that within the Asia Pacific region, especially a market like China and even Indonesia, delivery business is booming. And a lot of these companies like Gojek, which was a freight forwarder, got into delivery. Uber Eats, Dianping in China, all of these are getting incredibly high valuations. The only problem with delivery is nobody makes any money. Right. So I've had a long conversation with the head of Uber Eats in the United States. And, Uber makes so much money from the driver business that they're willing to do trial and error to try to get the business working. But for the restaurateur, they're giving up a huge percentage of their profit. Number two, it interferes with the restaurant. And number three, the delivery concept itself doesn't make money. So it's a bubble. I think it'll sort itself out. But I think cloud kitchens, as you mentioned, are absolutely what's happening, where people are just, a restaurant chain will open their own cloud kitchens and get it out of the restaurant and then deliver. So
interesting. So the digital movement is such that you can't ignore it, and you need to be part of it. You need to tweak your business model to suit it, and yet, like you rightly said, there are a lot of margins that are cut down. Right. So people are finding a lot of innovative ways to work around it, and if there can be some sustainability, then maybe there is a future to this. Great, Rajesh, what do you think?
I've had this discussion a lot of times with a lot of people, but there's one point that I feel that people miss out when it comes to delivery. And the most important thing about delivery is packaging. Correct? There's a lot of food that leaves the restaurants by the time it reaches home, it's rubbish. Correct? A lot of people miss the trick over there. Their packaging isn't sustainable enough. The whole time of the food is very, very minimum. And of course, delivery isn't really the most profitable business, as Joel had said. But I think there are few key tricks that people are missing out over there. And if they do work towards it, I think India in the next 5 to 10 years would be a 60 to 70% delivery market. So we're moving towards it in the right direction, but there are still a few tweaks that we need to make, and no one has been able to crack the profitable model in the delivery sort of a thing. So I think that's what people are trying to crack and innovate to make sure that delivery is affordable yet profitable. So
interesting. Anand, what do you think? Anand has recently, like you mentioned, logged deals outside of India and across the world, so to say, because UK, Australia, Southeast, all different continents. Where do you see the trends moving in these part of countries?
The very first part is I don't see delivery business as a big business. I love to do business in the restaurant. I love people to get into my own restaurants, eat it. As we say, I don't like to do a tie-up with Uber Eats, with Zomato. We are there as we're supposed to because they eat up the whole major chunk. They want to have 15%, 20%, and what are we going to make? That's the business of 30%. If they want to take it, what are we going to take it? So I try and I avoid myself with any of these things. I rather do only business in my restaurants. And on the weekends when we do amazing business, these other people come up with the orders and they want the food in half an hour. Otherwise, they keep on charging us all those things. So on Saturdays and Sundays, we just completely switch off our devices and say, no more deliveries with the Zomatos or with anybody. And looking onto the world, probably, let's see, I'm going to still go and scroll those markets. But as of India, I don't see delivery business. I want people to come into my restaurant.
Very interesting. And, even we have encountered such incidents where our franchise owners have actually showed us a lot of calculations because we have all kind of franchise owners and some of them are extremely analytical. And they have come up to me with calculation that we have delivered so and so, and even after putting in our overheads, we are making a negative on that. Instead, if we don't do it, we'll save. So, we have shut deliveries in a couple of stores. So it makes sense that not to probably blindly follow the trend, but evaluate your business model, your ticket sizes, where you are going to make more money. That is what we are in business for ultimately, and where your brand is going to be able to give a better customer experience. Coming to the global brands winning the entire game section, the topic that we need to cover. Joel, why do you think that global brands always tend to be ahead of the game than the local brands in any market? I mean, there are some evolved markets in Southeast Asia. So the local brands are also as evolved as the international markets. So we'll just welcome.
Yeah, I think India is a special case because it's not developed yet.
Sure.
But I would say in the really developed Asian markets, it's more and more difficult for global brands to be successful. And the reason I say that is there's so many good operators. When I go to Indonesia, the food quality of the best operators is as good or better than anything you'd find in the United States or the UK. So they really have to have a very distinctive offering.
Sure.
And it has to be very viral on Instagram or, you know, for example, you take a brand like Shake Shack. Everybody wants Shake Shack. Most people have never been in Shake Shack, but because of the viral nature of the brand, people want it. So there are certain brands that have huge viral marketing, I guess, outcomes by accident in many cases. But if it doesn't meet a specific need, it's going to be more and more difficult. India is a place where people still want big US brands, big European brands, even if the brands may be dying.
Correct. So there is an aspirational value as far as consumer is concerned, and definitely, like you rightly said, there is a huge gap as far as the operational capability of an Indian operator versus the experience and operational capability of an international experience is concerned. Rashish, if you can just throw some light on how they have an edge over probably menu design, engineering. Their menus are very crisp, and here the menus are very elaborate. So it affects your entire back-end inventory, logistics, supply chain.
That's a fantastic question, actually. I'll tell you why. Because the menu is such a crucial part especially in a growing market like India. Correct? No international brand can actually come into India with their international menu. They have to acquire the taste of the Indian market as well. They have to tailor the menu based on that. And most of the international brands, or maybe even all, I can say that they're all open to that. Correct? Because they know the Indian market is very different from other international markets. It's a market that the brand has to adapt to because the people won't. Correct? And when I speak about India, India is so diverse that, we've had instances wherein the menus in the south have been very different from the menus in the north. Correct? So I think flexibility is key over there. Innovation is key. You've got to keep things simple. You've got to keep innovating and tailoring your menu every 3 to 6 months to make sure you get rid of the items that don't really perform and add items that are doing well. The Indian market might be a crowded market, but again, the population that we have, I think there's huge scope, and the industry is moving in the right direction. And so I think there is enough place for foreign brands to come into the market, but if they don't adapt to the different regions in India, I don't think they can be successful.
Sure. Anand, on the contrary, you have researched a lot of brands in London, and what do you feel? How their menus are different as far as structure is concerned than your menus in India?
I would definitely love to adopt their culture. Once I'm going to take my brand from here, I'm going to make my menu absolutely crisp with just 18 to 20 dishes on the menu, concentrate them every 3 months, keep on changing them. That's a new trend. Probably that's what I want to try it across in India. And I'm sure we're going to really get a success because people are completely bored of the same old menu, same old styling. They want change. And the change is going to come by changing your menu. Just keep 20, 25 dishes because India cannot have 18, 20 dishes. But at least, yes, 30 dishes and just keep on changing it every 3 months, 4 months. And I'm sure you're going to be there. Just get it viral on the Instagram, as Joel said, and just make it as viral as you can.
That's the question, how to make it viral. So
it's very easy. Just boost in some couple of thousands of rupees on your Facebook and Instagram and you are right up there.
So we have a gentleman from Sea House Italia. Are you Mr. Ajay Talwar or you're representing him?
No, I'm Cristiano Iezzi, co-founder.
Great. So pleasure to have you here. So if you can give a very quick introduction of what Sea House Italia does and also throw some light on what do you think are trends in India and globally as far as the restaurant market is concerned.
I can't talk about global because India, to be honest, I have no experience in this moment. I want to say that my concept is very flexible because it has 2-3 kind of models. So we are from very small one up to the bigger one is a restaurant. In terms of food, what I can say with my experiences in Europe and in Middle East, I can say that there are two things apart from media, apart to manage very well with the proper management at the store and so on. I can say that there is the organic food that can be interesting, depend from the market because not everybody can afford for that kind of prices because the prices will be a little bit higher. And the second thing is that most of the products are frozen currently in the market. So if we want to change something in the market to enter in a market saturated, it's already in terms of offer as India or other territories, you need to do it with a better quality, better crockery, better service for the client. So to steal the client, you as a new brand coming in the market, stealing the clients from other brands because the people were eating, up to 5 minutes ago. So you should give really for the same price an affordable or more interesting, let's say, food, crockery, service, and so on. So one of the most important things for me is to grow a lot in terms of services, in terms of preparation, in terms of fresh food, in terms of fresh pastry and so on. I mean, according to my experience and to my business. So this is what I see lately. And I just came back from United States for another things convention, and there is everything pre-packed, frozen like this. Even Starbucks, that is amazing brand and so on, they want to do something fresh and to enter with something fresh. In fact, they just recently, they opened 1 month ago in Italy for the first store. I don't know if you heard about, was really big advertising like this. Before to enter in the market, they bought a very good Italian brand bakery. They bought, and after they start to expand, first in Seattle, they put in Seattle in their roastery. After they put in China, in Shanghai, and now in Milan. So apart from their coffee, they are doing something fresh, live, in front of the people. This is something that is crack in the market. The people are, wow. Because normally our, let's say, laboratory are behind, nobody can see. And that's, for me, can be a plus to change, disruption. This is what they were talking in IFA in February in the United States, the disruption. So to break with the past, to do something that will be really with a wow factor for our client.
Very interesting. Before 3 to 4 decades, McDonald's led this entire change of commercializing everything as far as the burger patties and the entire recipe is concerned, managing and depending on the supply chain to make it scalable. And now we are again going back to making things fresh. And I think Chipotle is one brand which led this trend and has convinced the entire industry that scalability is possible when you make things fresh. And then brands like Pret a Manger have reiterated that serving fresh is possible. So very, very interesting thought. I think India is still in a phase where we are trying to commercialize things still. There are not many brands who do frozen, and they depend on the chef at the outlet level for any kind of consistency. So it will be very interesting to see on how the commercialization of recipes will happen in India and how they at the same time adapt to the fresh food change. Joel, I would like to ask you on how global brands are changing their dine-in experience. What are they doing differently to change in the experience of the guest? And then I would also like Anand to share on his story of Legend of Punjab on how his food is Punjabi, which is practically the food that everyone serves, but how he has changed the experience of the outlet in terms of look and feel, and it has stood out than anything else or everyone else.
What I would say, I mean, that's a big question because whether it's fast food or full service restaurants and the like, but what I would say is the bigger the chain, generally the less innovation. They keep things pretty much. Starbucks is one of the few global chains that continuously innovates. It's very rare. McDonald's has a heart attack every 5 years. The stock goes down, they rejig it and start again. KFC, all of them. So the real innovation, at least in the United States, it's coming in the fast casual area where people are serving restaurant quality food, meaning from scratch food with counter service at obviously a more affordable, a higher price than fast food, but still very affordable with no tips. That is a trend that's happening all over the world. So I think that people are getting an experience with open kitchens in a fast casual environment, but the big kind of the historical players with so many assets on the ground have a lot of trouble innovating the experience.
Yeah, very true. And I think a classic example to prove this is how fast Five Guys has grown over McDonald's. It's a kind of a fast casual format where it's an open kitchen and they ground their own patty. So very, very true. I think the experience in the outlet wherein you engage the customer and show them that you are serving something fresh yet fast is a very soulful thing to do to probably change the game. Anand, you have got into a segment which is a very, very common segment, which is Punjabi food, but yet you have made a mark there only by changing the experience of people coming to dine in by giving them a very thematic experience. If you can share something more about it.
That's what I was just about to say. Like, people do open up restaurants and they make mistakes by, not making the restaurant as a thematic restaurant. So we want customers to come in and have an experience, just not, just come to the restaurant, just eat it and just go off. We do not want them to, spend their time more on the phones or any of those things. So our entire restaurants are absolutely thematic. We want them to spend at least 10 to 15 minutes behind the restaurant, see the place, how the thing is. They want to see that, oh, we missed out that corner, oh, we missed out that corner. So that's one way I like to engage my customers. And I keep my menu very crisp. Like, even if the Punjabi restaurant is there, though people have variants, like, just for examples, in the parathas, probably it's just a simple aloo paratha, but they want to mix it up with aloo cheese paratha, aloo spring onion paratha, or blah, blah. They just want to keep on, play with the customers by just making it elaborate. So we just go with a straight crisp menu, and we take the good experience. We want them to have it. We work hard towards our plating and presentations. And that's how the whole restaurant works. But and again, like, if I'm taking these brands across to the abroad, that's what even in abroad we have seen it. Like, people are just opening up restaurants by their choice. They are not restaurants who are opening up restaurants. So we as a restaurants are going to open up restaurants abroad with this whole thematic stuff where we want people to know what exactly Punjab is or what the whole India is. That's how it's going to, do up very nice.
Very interesting. So definitely giving experience is the next thing. And dining, more or less, you can't innovate beyond a point. I mean, you can use best of the ingredients, produce, have your own farm, have the vertical kitchen in the restaurant. But what next? So I think experience in the store is going to be the next big thing. And also, I'll request you if you can add some examples of what you have done to change the customer experience in the store.
You should know that Italy is, I think, similar to India. Each 30 kilometer, 50 kilometer, changing the culture, changing the language, changing the food, changing everything. So since we started, for instance, in Italy, we had the problem because we are only 1,000 kilometers long, but every 50 kilometers, we need to change something. So we were facing a lot of problems because even a simple croissant, in Milano, they are not eating what they are eating in Rome and vice versa. So every time we were opening something, we were facing these kinds of problems. So when we went international, for us was a little bit easier because this kind of changing we were doing permanently. So if you are already having a country that is letting you to change, and as I heard the guys here, for sure will be even very good, very easy for your mind when you are going international. You are obliged to change something. I heard about recently from my business partner here in India that at least the menu is supposed to be 50% vegetarian and 50% not. So that's something that I think only here you can find things like this because I never heard about something similar or, so comparing to Italy, we are still back then, we are in, in the very, so that's the point, that's the thing.
I just have a closing question for Joel and Rashesh. Two different perspectives of the same business. So Rashesh, if there is a friend of yours who wants to get an international brand to India, what are the three main advice you are going to give him to look for in the brand? And Joel, what are the three advice that you are going to give to the brand to look for in the investor? So let's see if they match.
Okay, wonderful. So that's an interesting question. But the three things that I would, tell my investor would be make it scalable. Okay, because India is a huge market. Just opening 1, 2, or 3 stores doesn't make sense. You've got to hit that, at least 15, 20, 25. If you can go above that, that's much better. Make sure the brand is affordable. Okay, that's very, very crucial in India. Correct? Because if it's not affordable, it won't be scalable. As simple as that. The third main important thing is the people you work with. Okay. Now, brands internationally, you have founder-driven brands, and then you have large international corporations. Okay. Very different people. Okay. I'm not saying that one's bad, one's good. Okay. But you have to make sure that, for a brand to grow, you work as a team. Even though you're in India and someone's abroad, you're like-minded. The person understands your ambition, okay, and you'll have the same vision for the brand. So the people on the team, I won't take names, but we've seen instances in India wherein partnerships have broken, large corporation partnerships have broken because the teams aren't compatible, they don't share the same vision, they've had problem with internally with the board and stuff like that. So I think working with like-minded brands, working with people with the same vision is extremely, extremely important in the Indian market. So yeah.
Excellent, Joel.
Yeah, I would say the thing that I counsel all the time in any market is for the brand owner to do their due diligence on the partner. To make sure, number one, the partner has high integrity. This may seem odd to Americans or Europeans, but pay their bills on time. That's a big problem in India. As you know, it's not that big a problem in the European or the American market, but I've heard too many cases of people getting brands and don't have money, and then they start raising money around the place.
In India, the loan comes expensive than US.
I know. So what I mean is do the due diligence on the partner. First of all, make sure the partner is high integrity. Make sure they're well capitalized. If they're going to raise money, make sure they raise the money before you sign a deal. And number 3 is to make sure they're absolutely committed to having good food service operators with equity. In other words, don't just hire them as staff, give them equity in the business so they don't go. Sure. Because if the people have no experience and they hire operators and they don't give them enough incentive, they'll leave. Sure. So that's what I would counsel.
Great. So if you want to get an international brand and if you are a food operator and heavily capitalized and if your mindset matched, then look for a scalable format which is affordable. So I think that's what I would blend and conclude. And anyone wants to add anything, please do. And otherwise, we'll leave it to the audience to ask us questions, if any. Thank you.
Please raise your hands if you have any questions for the panel. Yes, can we please give him the mic? Please mention the name of the speaker you wish to address and do introduce yourself. I think you'll be audible. You can be a bit loud. It's a small seminar hall, so there won't be much problem. You can ask a question without the mic also.
Hello everyone, my name is Saurabh and my question is not specific to one person, it's about the entire industry. So when we talk about the restaurant industry, it was more about the hospitality part of the things. But now when we visit a restaurant, it is more like a chaos when we visit on a Saturdays, on a Sundays. And it has become more about the numbers game, or it has become more about the money that the customers bring in rather than the hospitality part of things. So when you deal with the clients, when you guide them with when you people guide the restaurants, what is the thing that you tell them to what is the thing that you tell them to focus on the hospitality side of things?
I think it is still about hospitality. The thing about this industry is that there is no entry barrier. So anyone like me can enter the industry without any experience. So what usually happens is that such restaurateurs do not focus on experience. I'm sure even in a QSR format, who is serving a burger or a waffle or a coffee, you can imbibe the culture of hospitality. I mean, you see Starbucks hospitality. It's really nice. It's a QSR. I mean, you just have to sit on the counter and get your coffee. But still, they call you by your name. They remember your name. They upsell their product. They give you a suggestion, so on and so forth. So I think it's about inexperience and crowding in the market that we feel that it is not about hospitality. But I think the real restaurants or the restaurateurs who know the business, I still believe that they give importance to hospitality as much as they give to food. Please.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one thing, that it's easier to give great hospitality if you have a really simple concept with a simple operating system. So the more complex the operating system, the more you struggle, the harder it is to give hospitality. So I think that's, particularly I can think of an Indian restaurant, and usually in Indian restaurants I get the food very quickly, right? Because a lot of it is pre-prepared. So if you go to a Western restaurant, it can take a long time, right? Because a lot of the stuff is made from scratch. So I think it's difficult on a Saturday night when you're packed to give good hospitality, no doubt. But the easier it is to operate the restaurant, the more you can focus on the front of the house or the customer.
You know, the point that you mentioned is extremely valid, because this is a trend that I've been seeing in the last 1 or 2 years as well. There are two sides to this. One is the hospitality side. There are restaurants who emphasize heavily on having good hospitality. I think that's a very, very important factor. But there are restaurants that are coming out and innovating in terms of technology. Those kind of restaurants are trying to reduce human interaction. Correct? Because bad hospitality, even though you have great food, bad hospitality can ruin your name completely. Correct? So that's why when there are some restaurants that are trying to reduce human interaction completely. They're using technology. You just go order, okay, and you go pick it up, and your food's on the table. Correct? So that's another way that the industry is also moving towards. The future has some scope for that. So you either have good hospitality or you have great technology. There's no space in the middle. Correct? If your technology is weak, your brand's ruined. If your hospitality is weak, so is your brand ruined. So I think there are two extreme paths, and you've got to get both of them really, really right. But then there are two paths. You can choose whichever one you want to take. Correct?
You know, what I actually see on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, is like, everybody wants to get out into the restaurants and go and eat. But they come up with a very high expectations. We as restaurants, no matter whatever we're going to do, eventually it's just there in the mind. Right. Saturdays and Sundays, oh, ye nahi tha, wo nahi tha, that's bad, this bad. But eventually if they come on the weekdays, they feel it's the best thing. It is exactly the same thing. Right. So it's just a myth probably, and we really as restaurants don't know how to get that myth out from the customers sometimes. No matter whatever we do, they are going to take out something or the other on Saturdays and Sundays or on the public holidays. That's my take. I'm so sorry. I might be wrong also.
No. Thank you so much.
Please pass on the mic to that lady.
We can hear you.
You're quite audible, so you can ask the question.
Hi, my name is Sonia, and I work with various startups and advise them on franchising and sometime on starter as to what all things they should actually take care of. Now, I've got a couple of, new customers. I've never worked in the food industry, so I thought of, just listening to this particular conversation. But few questions of the startups when they approach me, and especially in the healthy food market, is concerned is, what are the 3 tips you think you would be able to give it to a budding entrepreneur who wants to enter into the healthy food market and specially cater to the, people who are in office from Monday to Friday, don't have time to cook, but still want to eat healthy? They don't want that, their dishes should be full of lot of oils and spices from Monday to Friday. Maybe on Saturday and Sunday they would like to just freak out. But from Monday to Friday, when they are having sedentary roles, they want to stay light and they want to have hygienic food being delivered to them, which is healthy and doesn't add calories and kilos to them. So these are few of the themes if anyone can address.
Let me just answer that quickly. We work, one of my good friends is the founder of, I think, the largest fresh casual restaurant in the world called Freshie. They have about 600 units around the world. And he's a millennial, much younger than me. And I asked him, why did you start this business? He said, because I couldn't find a restaurant that served what I like to eat. So the people around him, it's kind of like a cult headquarters. Everybody is into natural food, not organic because it's too expensive, but natural food, no additives, no preservatives. And that's the way the company grew. And they opened a few stores and people asked them for franchises. And 10 years later, they have about 600 stores. So obviously, the first thing in being successful as a franchise, whether it's health food or any other food, is a good operating model that makes money. If you can't make a good return on your capital operating your own restaurant, the last thing you should be doing is franchise. Because when you're operating your own restaurant, you're not paying anybody 5%. So if you cannot have a good return, don't even waste your time franchising. Second thing I would say, especially with healthy-oriented food like salads and wraps and fruits and things like that, if you don't have the right supply chain, you can't operate the restaurants. So I don't know enough about India to know the supply chain, but I believe when you get out of tier 1 cities, it's problematic. So I think the supply chain, especially with natural foods and vegetables and things like that, is the biggest bottleneck to developing healthy food. And last thing, affordability. It can't be too expensive. People want healthy food, but if it's too expensive, they won't buy it.
The biggest advice or a piece of advice to startups, what as a restaurant I can give is go to a franchisee who can make their restaurant in 2 months of time, because there where it's a major thing. They want to do a restaurant, they don't know about the restaurant, they have 2 months of a fit out period, and just discussing on all these points and all these things, they really waste their time a month ago. Just 1 month they just keep on wasting that. What is the kind of a model we want to do, how we want to do it. So they got to be very focused. And before starting up a restaurant, they really need to go to a franchisor who's going to open up the restaurant in 2 months. Because a single month is going to cost them a hell lot of a thing. A single delay is going to cost them 1 month's rent plus the salaries. And there where the whole balance sheet goes on the negative side, and there where a lot of people make a mistake. And plus they overspend, saying that, oh, this is the first restaurant of ours, so we really want to make it the best. We don't want to leave any stone untouched. But that's the time when they really goof up. Instead of investing 1 crore, they start investing 1.5 crores, 2 crores, and they just start running on the minus balances. So that's one thing. And probably I'm not at all into a healthy food, so I'm the wrong person to answer for a healthy thing. Yeah.
I think one of the interesting things is how scalable is a kind of business like this for healthy food. Because if you are going for tier 2 or tier 3, it would be difficult to be sustainable store. So to go for this kind of food, you should have some healthy people, gym and so on. So maybe in downtown where the people are a certain level of job position. So it's very good when you are in a city, big city as this one. Otherwise, I think it would be difficult to make it work, all over.
So I'll give you one thing out of, I might not be experienced as the other panelists over here, but, I've been into the startup sector for the last 5-6 years, and I've been bankrupt twice, okay? And I'll tell you why. There's one simple formula. You've got to optimize your resources, okay? As a startup founder, the only thing that I've realized is I cannot do everything. And that's where I failed, I tried doing everything. So even the people you advise, I think they need to optimize their resources because they're not the best at everything. And there are ample opportunities to collaborate and to grow your business through people who have enough experience and people who have, even if it's giving up a stake, but people who have, more knowledge than you. I think, optimization of resources is the most important thing for, one of these, for startups.
Thank you so much. Due to paucity of time, we won't be able to take more questions. You can connect with our speakers offline. They are very much available, so don't worry. I now request session moderator, Mr. Karan Tanna, to please present memento to his co-panelist. Can we have the mementos, please? We'll start with Mr. Joe Silverstein, CEO, East West Hospitality. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Joel Silverstein, CEO, East West Hospitality. Thank you so much for joining us, Joel. It's a great pleasure to have you amongst us. Thank you. It's a small token of respect from our end. Mr. Rasesh Seth, partner, the Arcadian Group, and country head, Surf and Fries India. Thank you, Rasesh, for joining us. Mr. Anand Thakkar, Chairman and Managing Director, Legends of Punjab. Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts and knowledge with us. Mr. Christian